Encanto is a new original Disney animation coming to us from some of the directors behind Tangled and Zootopia, two Disney movies that I obviously really enjoyed, one of them being a musical like this, so obviously they got the chops for it, and they also have Lin-Manuel Miranda coming in to write the songs for this like he did with another Disney project called Moana, which was great, and the songs in that were great, so this is shaping up to look like a really great movie. And this movie is about a Colombian family who have been kind of hidden away in the mountains. They were blessed with a miracle in the form of this candle to protect them from any harm, and as the years have gone on, the family has grown. They were all receiving gifts, the superpowers that help them take care of the community they have, you know, just for their own benefit. It's really cool. But then you have one member of the family who does not have any superpowers of any kind, named Mirabel, played by Stephanie Beatriz. She is very normal, and she might be okay with being normal, but there's just so many aspects of her life where she's just constantly reminded of, you're not as special as everybody else, you know, these people are way more important than you probably. Then one day when the house that they all live in starts to kind of flicker as far as its power and its candle, some other members of the family start to lose control of their abilities. It's up to Mirabel. She's the only one who can actually try to find out what's going on with the magic and figure out a way to save it. Obviously, I was really excited for this movie like I am for any new Disney original animation coming out, because obviously I'm a big fan of Disney animations. I think a lot of them are really fantastic. Even ones that somehow are kind of weaker than the others, I still end up enjoying. Like, they're still, you know, solid movies. And it's always just great to see on the big screen the end result of a lot of hard work from animators doing their best to put everything into every single frame of this movie. If I have to get anything out of the way right now, I'll just say, yeah, the animation. It's kind of a cliche to say that for any Disney-related animated project, but just the animation always looks stunning. You know, the colors are vibrant, the set design work looks incredible, the characters, the way they act and react to things, they're all fantastic. Every single animator did a wonderful job on this film. There's like plenty of points where the animators just go all out in showing like, here's what we can do. There's like one song with Luisa, Mirabel's older sister, who's like really strong, where she's kind of singing about the stress and pressure that she's under, and there's just so many wild images just to take the viewer around, and it's just so gorgeous and it moves so smoothly. And of course the house even has that thing where it does have like moving parts to it to, you know, in some points maybe suggest a shrug or just to help other members of the family along, you know, floorboards kind of always moving around and stuff like that. It's all really imaginative stuff that the animators, you know, have a clear vision on how to properly execute, you know, working with the directors behind this, and it's really fantastic visually to look at, as per usual with every single Disney/Pixar movie, Disney and Pixar movie that comes out. They just always look stunning because Disney has all the money in the world to make it look like that. Not to knock on this movie before it's even out, but I've seen the trailer for DC's League of Super Pets, the full one, and there's just a part of me that was like, this animation doesn't look the greatest. I know it's WAG, you know, the Warner Animation Group. I know they've done good work before, but this just looks noticeably weird, you know. But so it was just great and refreshing to know that at least this will always be consistent. And also the musical numbers are always fantastic when it comes to these movies, especially when you have Lin-Manuel Miranda working on them. You have the usual kind of Disney songs that you would expect, you know, when the lead character is kind of at a low and they need to express what they want, what they desire. But then there's also other songs in here where, you know, Lin-Manuel Miranda just brings his signature flair to them, and they work so well. They're so different than what you see in other Disney movies, even different than what you got in Moana, and it works so wonderfully. I mentioned the musical number that Luisa sings earlier on. That was also a lot of fun. Probably like the highlight of the movie for me, at least. You know, that was a song that I really loved. But there's a song choice that they have near the end of the movie during kind of a big reveal, kind of explanation moment that I thought was really quite beautiful to have that specific song that way, and it brought a tear to my eye. Like a lot of great Disney movies, this movie does really tug at the heartstrings and really gets you there emotionally, and a lot of that does come down to the way they, you know, executed the song choice at the end, you know, which was perfect to me. But there's even a song about like how, you know, there's that one member of the family who we don't talk about named Bruno, who's played by John Leguizamo in the movie, who is quite fun actually in this. He's actually a really fun character once they get into him, who's like a weird whack job kind of weird character, but not like an evil guy. But the perception has been, you know, because you're hearing it from other people in the family who've had not so great experiences with him, and, you know, they've made assumptions because of his certain ability. They just have this whole song about like, we don't talk about Bruno because this, and it's just like him being like an evil creep, and it's like really fun. But it also feeds into one of the larger themes of the movie of you don't always have to listen to everyone's assumptions of somebody just because they think they know everything and they think they understand someone completely. that might not be true. You never really know unless you get in there yourself and actually do the work to connect with somebody and actually kind of see through everything that they're kind of putting a front for. And I thought that was really powerful because, yeah, when have you not been in a family where you've heard somebody else talk about someone else, but then you actually sit down with this other person and you're like, they seem cool to me, like there's nothing immediately wrong with them. I can't hate them. And this thing that this person has said doesn't even really bother me that much, So like, I thought that was actually really cool that they threw that in, because this movie ultimately is about, family, the different dynamics that go into, the family unit. And that of course is one of them, the perceptions of the other family members, and how it's just kind of about, letting go of what other people may think about other family members and just being there for that person, because ultimately that only will push people away. But speaking of that, what the larger part of the movie is about, it's kind of about two different things at one point, because it starts off, you're watching Mirabelle, voiced wonderfully by Stephanie Beatrice. She's got a wonderful singing voice, and she's got a great liveliness to voice the character. She's a perfect fit, and Mirabelle is just a really great character who you immediately root for, because you feel bad. Like, yeah, she doesn't have any powers. That sucks. She's so cool and funny and likable. Like, it does suck that she's kind of treated poorly because she doesn't have abilities. Not poorly, but just there is that kind of mindset of like, oh, yeah, she's kind of bad luck, for the family. So the movie kind of starts off with you in that point of view with Mirabelle, like, hey, you don't need a special gift just to, be special. You're special just the way you are. Ultimately what matters is, what's special about what you do as a normal human being. It kind of starts off like that, which is obviously a great message for kids. You don't have to have a certain thing just to be special. Just be you and be empathetic and be kind, and that's all you need in life. But then as the movie goes on, what I love about this movie is that it doesn't have an antagonist, like a single person, like that's the bad guy, we got to get the bad guy. And it doesn't even really have like a bad guy turn good thing, like I believe they did with Raya recently, where they were never really evil. It was just all a misunderstanding. It does follow in the trend of some recent Disney movies where a lot of the antagonistic parts of it come from internal struggles, and a lot of overcoming the third act problems involve that, just confronting some emotions and just moving forward with that, because the movie then kind of becomes about how people who are labeled as gifted then have a huge expectancy on them to match up to that, to use that gift, in every aspect of life. And all of a sudden there's this pressure that kind of builds from that, to have these expectations on you and to always be worried that you're never quite good enough, even though all that should matter is that, you are you and you're doing what you want to do, and it's not harming anyone. You're just being yourself and having fun with the people you love, and that's all that really matters. And I really like that this movie is about that, because who hasn't thought about like what some kids might go through when they're kind of labeled as, you got a gift, you're gifted, you got to use this talent, we found the talent in you, you've got to use it in every aspect of life. Who hasn't thought like, how does that kid feel, how does that kid feel to always have this kind of expectancy that they're going to be great one day, just immediately as soon as they're assigned that label. And then also on the opposite end of that, the people that aren't labeled as that, how do they feel? That's when you place Mirabelle into the whole thing of like, well, if you're not called gifted, if these people are called gifted, but if you're just a normal person, you're kind of like, whatever, it's gotta hurt. And I really like how this movie kind of confronts both parts of that and kind of marries it into a theme that I thought was quite beautiful for this movie, incorporating the family aspects of it all. I just thought this movie was really beautiful, and it touched my heart. It was a really nice movie. It didn't need a villain. It doesn't need kind of like the typical, 3-act structure kind of feel of like most movies. It can just be kind of like a, hey, we gotta solve some internal conflicts. Let's go, and I'm totally for that. Disney has kind of gotten to that point where they've kind of mastered the art of having a movie without a main villain. A lot of kids movies, family movies, even just regular movies have, villains, and they have like typical, plot points that you've seen a million times before, and obviously that's totally fine. It just kind of depends on execution. But I do kind of like the idea that, you don't always need a villain in these movies. We can just focus solely on human emotion, and that can still impact somebody and maybe even change their perception on life, on existing. That's really powerful to me. If I had to have any issues with this movie, I would just say that there's a couple points where some characters do things really quickly. That's all I'll say. And I know it's an animated movie, and maybe I shouldn't be thinking about that too much, but it was kind of like, well, how how'd you do this so fast, you know? And then there's another part where I wanted to see a bit more of the other family dynamics, how they kind of help the community that they have in the beginning of the movie, because it seems like it's just kind of Louisa, the big strong one, helping people out, and everyone else is just, going around and doing whatever, and I didn't really understand what else they were doing to help the community, to protect the community, whatever. So I just wanted to see a bit more of that and see how they all interacted with the town, and then opposite Mirabel as the movie, before the movie really got going. But other than that, I really enjoyed this. I think kids will really like it. It may not be the most, high stakes as far as world ending or city destroying or anything like that, but it's high stakes for the characters, and I think as soon as people kind of recognize that, they might be able to really connect with it and really grow to love this movie. I'm gonna give Encanto an A-. I really had a good time with this. If you're gonna see anything this Thanksgiving weekend, even though it's Sunday, Thanksgiving weekend is pretty much over, but I would go see this, I saw Resident Evil, which I reviewed, and I even saw House of Gucci, which I thought was kind of a disappointment, kind of mediocre meh kind of movie. If I ever make a full review, I'll talk more about it, but who knows. But so this is the movie that, now that it's out, I would highly recommend. So if you are struggling to find something to watch in the theaters in the next coming weeks before the big Spider-Mans and Matrixes, I would recommend Encanto. It's light, but it's really beautiful and touching, so I highly recommend it. But if you've seen Encanto, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.